that my phone?
Yep, you do have your phone. Sounds like it's under here.
No, it's in my pocket. John, are you trying to get on? Did you click on the link on the agenda? And nothing happens. Brian, let me ask Brian, because Brian just did it. Brian?
There
Brian,
are
can you
two
hear me?
ways to do it, Leith. One is to download the Teams app, and the other is to go through his browser. Are you sure he's not trying to come in through Zoom?
No, he's on the agenda, and he clicked on a link on the agenda.
Okay.
Download the app first. Not gonna do that?
Well, he can. Yeah, he can do it.
It will run in a browser.
Oh.
That's the benefit of Teams, is it'll run in a browser or in
So,
an app.
so if he cuts and pastes it, is
Yeah.
that how he does it?
Should be able to.
See,
No.
John,
Click the link.
John, do you know how to, copy that link and then just go to your Google or Safari and paste it into
No,
that?
Leith, you don't have to
Oh.
do that.
Oh, hold on just a minute. What
You
does he
just
do?
Go. Okay, if he clicks on the Teams, on the invite, right, on the link, it gives you a choice, and one of the choices is open in your browser. So he would just click that, and it should open automatically in whatever browser he's using.
Okay. So did you understand that? So, okay, when you click on the link, it's gonna, there's gonna be a box in the middle, and it's gonna say, give you two choices. One's a browser and one's something else. Can you just click on the browser?
It's 302.
Okay, what I'm gonna do is, since I need, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just put you on my speakerphone.
Just
and
by
let you-
name, but we don't know any more than that.
I'm just gonna put you on speakerphone so you can just hear what's going on, okay?
We should probably like stand up and meet each other.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, John, can you hear me? Okay.
Hello again.
Oh, fabulous.
I didn't get your last name.
David Williams.
Yeah. How are you doing? We've seen each other repeatedly.
Yeah.
That's absolutely official.
Building official.
Yes, the new building official, and, David Williams.
David.
How are
you?
So I didn't realize
No,
that.
Is it Gillespie or Gillespie?
Gillespie.
Gillespie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like dizzy. So having done that.
So
Awesome.
maybe I can maybe we can get your stuff. We have the, John, well, let me bring this, it's 3:02. I want to bring the Eastsound Planning Review Committee, open the Eastsound Planning Review Committee meeting. It's November 3rd, it's 3:02. We are at the Orca Senior Center. We're in person and online. And we have Brian Weiss, committee member online, and present is Terry Gillespie, Charles Troxy, and myself, Leith Templin. Brianna Bird is absent, and so is Scott Lancaster. We have 3 county people here today, which is pretty nice, so. Cindy Wolf is here as the county council, David Williams as the planning director, and
Rafael Cedillos,
as the
building,
building
Chief building official.
So,
If I may, even though he walked away, just a little background about Rafael. He has been a professional architect for about 30 years, working on large projects in different areas, including the San Francisco Airport, entire terminals for that, the W Hotel down in Scottsdale. He also led disaster recovery efforts after the Northridge earthquake. and was responsible for, almost 1,000 property assessments after the earthquake for commercial residential buildings. Fantastic breadth of knowledge.
Great.
Wow.
Well, welcome.
He had seen.
He stepped away to go do plan review and
Yeah.
work on the stuff recorded we did earlier today.
Okay, sounds
Just
good.
wanted to-
Okay, so do, any additions or modifications to the agenda? Anybody? Brian?
Nope.
I was gonna add, and maybe we'll still do it, somehow it got eliminated, the public comment, the second public comment, after the discussion period. So I'm just gonna, if anybody happens to be here, we'll just entertain that again.
Okay.
I thought maybe somebody would come late, so, anyway, the next thing is actually public comment, and, I don't believe we have any. This will be good because, council member Cindy Wolf is gonna have to, leave to get on to another meeting, so we'll go ahead and do her update now. And, then she can breathe easier.
Be a few more minutes. So, we are within 26 days maybe of adopting the top comp plan, hopefully. So, we won't be
Yeah.
big things.
When's the final hearing
29th.
of this month? So the final hearing for the comp plan is the 29th of November?
That's a Monday, right? Must be
No, it's a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. Great. Oh, well, that'll be continue celebrating.
Just in time to start the next one.
Yeah, I know, but, yeah.
Oh, good.
But it will be in time for the next round of commerce grants.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's what's really important.
Yeah.
And, the December 6th council meeting will be on Lopez, which is fitting because it will be the penultimate meeting, I believe, for, Councilmember Stevens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this,
Hmm.
I think December 13th is the last time we're meeting council with,
With him?
With him.
Oh.
so, we'll miss Jamie,
Yeah.
but we
Yeah.
will welcome Jane with open
Yeah.
arms. So it's gonna be, an end and a beginning. Anyway, so December 6th, Lopez. I will be chair next year for county council. And so the way that I would like to approach, advisory committees, is using, the framework that's partially outlined in the code right now, which is, we're gonna sit down as a council. Generally, we have a retreat as our first meeting. We figure out who's gonna be liaison to which committees. We talk, amongst ourselves about what are the most important things we think are to, achieve, over the next year. I wanna involve the department directors also in that conversation. And once we've identified a few big goals, bring those back to the advisory committees. And then you folks have something to work on, some, you've got some meat to be able to decide what parts of that, you wanna handle.
County level goals, and then we look at how our committee applies to that.
Right. And
Okay.
so that hopefully will inform the work plan, which is how it's supposed to happen. And, you have, the first quarter to develop a work plan for the year and then present it to county council and just make sure we're all on the same page.
Great.
As far as what we're doing.
So that's happening your first two meetings in
January.
In January.
Yeah.
Then that's when we'll get that information. You'll develop that and give it to
Yeah.
us.
And in terms of making sure that there's communication both ways, I believe I have a meeting with you and Charles next week.
Mhm.
We've haven't
Yeah.
finalized that, but,
Right.
yeah, next week, and we can sort of have a pre-meeting about what you see coming up through the community
Okay,
as things that are
Okay,
going to address,
great,
so,
good.
okay. So,
that's exciting.
yeah, is there anything else big?
Well, you got a ton of budget stuff on your plate right now.
Yeah.
We've got, the tip, I don't know what status that is as far as your agendas.
Yeah.
A lot of end-of-year stuff,
A lot of finishing up,
yeah.
adopting the way that the budgets run right now is biennial, and so, that we set a big budget for 2 years, and then we tweak each year. Sometimes there's more grant money that comes in, sometimes things that you didn't expect happen. And so those budget amendments, happen on an annual basis, and they happen, there's like, it's been really every tertile that, Mylene's come to us with the county's budget amendments, so that's, we're just finishing that up for 2023.
Go ahead.
I had a question about, on the ballot, there were, the different questions for, about the charter review,
Right.
and the new position that was being created, for liaison, and then the comment about, every time the charter review committee, would reconvene, they needed to have their own budget. That was the request, or, and I was just wondering if is it that they're trying to control costs for charter review, or they're trying to create their own budget so that they can have more leeway? I didn't understand why this committee would need a budget.
That would be a good question for that committee.
Okay,
They're the ones that developed that request,
okay,
and,
okay.
Is
Yeah.
Ranker still chair of that committee, or did that change?
it doesn't exist anymore,
Okay,
but for as long as it was in session, Michael was chair of that.
okay, Tony Gazelle,
Uh-huh.
was also a member of that,
Okay.
so I might be able to,
Ask him.
we might be able to get an answer through
Okay.
Tony. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Is that it, Cindy? Since you are, gonna be leaving, and I'm not quite sure where we are gonna be, or if you're gonna be able to come back, I just have a question for you of something that I learned about last week, and, I've never heard about it, in any of the council stuff that I'm not, it's called the American Rescue Plan. Are you familiar with it? No, it's a federal funding mechanism, that grants monies to counties, to county councils, for housing. And I was, just talked with the county council member of Spokane, and Brenda Nelson, well, actually, I think Brenda is she's the secretary. And what they did, I was at a fire, and
I think that's part of the original ARP. I believe it was, they may have continued some congressional funding into that.
Right, that was
I
the
believe
Trump
it's part of
era,
the
that was
original
the Trump
ARPA.
era.
they call it
funding.
ARP.
I know, yeah. It was the,
That was Trump
I
funding
just lost
that
it,
came
but
down
the
during
last A is
COVID.
ACT.
So,
Yeah.
the reason I'm asking is because,
Uh-huh.
we're all trying to find
Right,
money
yeah.
for housing, and they just awarded $1 million to, the Spokane Fire District to build housing for, volunteers.
Ah,
And,
It'd be great if there's funding.
Fire district.
and
Yeah.
so it fits in with our housing, but it fits in for us on Orcas as, if we could, like, say, I don't know a lot about this right now, but, cause it's all like brand new, but from my understanding is they did it in an outlying area in Spokane, and because they did that, not only did they provide housing, it's only for volunteers, because
Mhm.
it's trying to develop their volunteer program, but it also affects our insurance rates. So if and I don't, like I said, I don't know, initially I was
Mhm.
kind of spinning and thinking, in Eastsound, but in some of our outlying areas, it would really, I think, dramatically affect fire insurance costs to our residents.
You make a shift from an unmanned station where everybody's just got pagers and open house to a manned station, that
Yeah.
definitely changes
Yeah,
the ISO rating for the fire department,
and,
fire district.
and so I thought,
Was that award made to, well, you're just talking in general that there is housing.
there, yes,
Okay.
and that
Yeah.
was what
Yeah.
it was for that
Yeah.
department, for volunteer, members' housing.
So possibly the fire districts might, where are you going with that?
Well,
Thinking about
I'm
it
just
from-
asking if
yeah.
you know anything about it,
Yeah.
and maybe I can give the information to the fire district here, and they can approach the council as to, are there any of these RFP funds available? And if not this year, how can we get it
Well,
next year?
It wouldn't be approaching the council, it would actually be applying
It-
as the
Well,
fire
it was,
district.
it's been done through, it was done through Spokane counts, the 3 council members in Spokane.
Right, but I think that might be because Spokane Fire
City
Department
fire
is a,
It's a city.
Well,
is a
They're
city
incorporated,
department.
so,
the-
yeah.
Yeah.
I believe the council received it and awarded it to the fire, so it
I'm
wasn't,
happy to look into it,
okay,
but the answer may come back that the
Yeah.
fire district actually up,
okay. So
yeah.
I will do some more work. I guess
Yeah.
there is a website that you can go on to. I just, received this from the county commissioner an hour ago.
I'm
So,
really curious about that, if you don't mind sending that to me.
Okay.
Well,
sure.
I'd be really curious about that.
Yeah, I just think, we can take all the help we can get.
Yeah, I thought all the ARPA money had been spent and the program closed, but it may have been easier for Congress to fund some money into that program as a conduit instead of creating a new program. So I'd be really curious, because I think, San Juan's got the same issue, Lopez.
Well,
I'd be really curious about that.
yeah, 'cause I do have her name, and then also the fire chief in Spokane that actually approached the council, so, okay.
Yeah, anything that we can do to help, for sure, that, if,
Mhm.
Wondered,
good not to have volunteers living in the firehouse.
a couple of months ago, when you guys made that, I can't remember exactly what the change was, but it had something to do with being able to build on county land.
Yes.
Yes?
And that specifically was geared towards, not just the county, but any taxing entity,
Mm-hmm.
would have the ability to add offices and open up RGU uses a little bit more.
What about residential?
In most cases, the residential component's already there. The big stumbling block that we had was offices.
Oh, okay.
In that, I could build a police station, and I could have my whole police station, offices, and jail there, but I couldn't build a public works yard that is just as critical as the sheriff's to keep roads open and have their offices in the same building. So we opened that up a little bit there. In the rural districts, the residential is still allowed. And, part of the discussion, I would say, would be how many units do we need? Do we want individual units? Do we look at a cluster? Do we look at a bunkhouse type situation? It would be, dependent on that, but we could probably get there pretty easily. I don't see that it would be a challenge,
Okay, great. Thank you.
but, you bet.
Okay, so, just, that was actually what I was gonna do under my chair report, and then just, suggest that, we go forward with just having a discussion on these things, just sort of map a plan that we have, so we can then ask for involvement from, the staff members, like we've had in the past, So I guess I'd just like to, go, we might just start, with streetscapes and pathways and,
Since we're not on Zoom, how will we bring up, is there a way for us to bring up information on our machines or just through, on your
All
machine?
the site, I've got everything on the agenda ready to bring up over here when we get to the agenda items. What did you need specifically?
I made just a very quick mock-up of,
Do you have it on a thumb drive, or can you email it?
I'll email it.
Okay, you can send it over, I can bring it up with no
Okay.
problem.
So when we do, this is just, I mean, we need to learn about this
Mhm.
technology stuff, how we're doing this. So when we come to, of course, the permits are gonna be different because you have all of that stuff, but say
Yeah.
that you didn't,
So the
because
easiest
usually we
way-
just shared screens,
You bet.
so-
The easiest way is to dial in on Teams,
okay?
just join the Teams meeting, and then you can share your screen directly from the computer. I just don't know if you have Wi-Fi capability, if you
Yeah.
can, got the
Okay, so I
login.
could do
So
that right
join-
now.
so
You can do
join
that,
the agenda
and then join through the agenda.
Okay.
And we just need to mute you and turn your camera off probably, and then you
Okay.
just share your screen. That way we're not getting feedback, but yeah.
Okay, all right.
As a matter of fact, when I'm in council, most of the time, I'm using my laptop for presentation through Teams as opposed to our, laptop at the desk.
Okay.
The USB port's
Yeah,
getting
'cause
flaky.
I knew that I knew it shared, I just didn't know exactly how it worked.
Yeah, pretty straightforward, pretty easy.
So far,
'Cause normally we just bring up, the permit application or the site plan, depending on
okay.
what
Uh,
is straightforward or not straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wants to.
For some reason, when I click on the agenda, it's, those links don't seem to be working. Let me see.
What is your email address?
Maybe that's what
Um,
Juan was having trouble with.
Okay, it is, I'll give you, innkeeper@kangaroohouse.com.
So,
Very professional.
so
Gotta have kangaroos in there.
Yeah, so what was, so
Kangaroohouse.com.
click here, to join the meeting.
Look what happens, see?
So do control,
Yeah, I
click.
tried that. It
It's
just,
working?
yeah, it's like, it's a GIF or something that is not a live link for whatever reason.
Oh, that must be,
Oh, you must be looking at the straight PDF
she's looking,
downloaded version.
Maybe we should have, at one of the upcoming meetings, do, an hour before or an hour after, and just do that technology.
well, yeah, that's what I was, that's what I've tried to do before, but, this was
Yeah,
different.
well,
So, I tried to have it, I did mention to Sophia to send it back as a Word document, not a PDF,
You've got an invite coming through.
okay, awesome, thank you.
so I don't know if the last one came through that way. But, yeah, the PDFs
Mhm.
don't work so well. Are you still with us, John?
Yes, but I have a hard time hearing.
Okay, well, we'll try to help that out.
Okay, that's working, turning,
In 2022, CDC will award $3 billion through a new first-of-its-kind American Rescue Plan funded grant program to strengthen the future public health workforce. So this must be because of the first responders is how you're qualifying
David?
for this.
Could you send another link to John Campbell? You have his email,
I think I do, yes.
because I'm sure you talked with him. Can you connect? How did you do that? Did you just
he sent me a
a new
link.
link and
I
you?
clicked that and it just asked for my name and
Okay.
it's loading.
Hey,
Sorry,
John,
Will be Chuck.
Yes.
jump
we're
back to
sending
that.
you another link.
Okay, there you
We
go.
think we figured out
There you
what
go,
was
Charles,
wrong
you're
with
in.
the other one. So
Great.
look in your email.
Look in your email.
Something's
I'll
coming
take care of
through.
that.
Look in your email
Great.
from
Coming
David
through.
Williams, and you'll get another agenda, and I think you'll be able to click
And
on
then
that.
can I share my screen or
You
can
should be able to share right now, and if you can't, let me know, and we will get that taken care of.
you share more action?
Oh, see, there's the thing where it said download, and
See share screen.
maybe it's under is the share screen under the three dots?
It's right up on top in that area.
On top?
It is the, to the right of the three dots, right where it says leave, just to the left of the leave button.
We don't have that. Well, check the three dots and see what that says.
Changing your permissions right now. You're a presenter right now, so it should be there.
It doesn't.
A little white button with an up arrow.
I don't see it.
Down here.
Oh, okay, that's right. So this right here,
Oh, that arrow.
so you're using the web browser version, so sorry. And then it'll give you your choices of what you'd like to share right now.
Okay, awesome, great.
Oh, good. Okay.
As soon as you bring that up, I'll highlight you as well.
So maybe John hopefully is waiting.
I've not yet gotten him invited yet.
Are you working on it?
We're getting there.
Hello, me?
Yeah?
I don't have any new messages on my, email.
Okay, maybe refresh it. And,
I'm trying to find his email.
oh, you haven't, oh, you don't
I'm
have it.
not coming up with his email.
Okay, hold on, John. His email is,
Gosh, oh,
it's JMC779.
there we go. It wasn't coming up because I didn't have the name
Yeah.
associated with it. Perfect.
Okay, he just sent it to you.
There. So he'll have the link in just a moment.
Okay, so is this supposed to be going up there,
Don't know.
David?
You will see it momentarily.
Oh.
So I think
I have this camera spotlighted only because of the interaction between the other two, so you're front and center now.
okay.
And it may not get up on this screen.
See a map?
Uh-huh, I do, yes.
Okay, great.
You see a map, but
I see a map.
it's not on the TV screen. Right?
That is going to be our glitch today. If you could share your screen with everybody.
All right, well, that's
sure.
okay.
And I just want to point out too, we're using the older Polycom tech because the new one has not arrived. We're expecting it in the next week or so.
Okay,
And the new Polycom is completely integrated. It ties everything in. It's got a camera up there that will zoom in. It's actually really slick because it identifies who in the room is talking and spins the camera to point at whoever's talking. It picks everything up. They're phenomenal.
That's
Okay.
amazing.
did you get it yet?
No,
All right,
It'll be coming through pretty.
it should be coming through pretty soon. You know, you're up there in the trees.
Well,
Okay, we're gonna go ahead.
so I just did a quick mock-up of, I couldn't get it all in one shot, but of Eastsound, sort of lower and upper, and lower is the more urgent, I think. And, this is by no means an exhaustive, color coding of every patch of pavement or anywhere that people walk in Eastsound, but it's a general idea. The things in blue are sidewalks. The light golden orange are the streets. The dark orange are existing trails. Then, what's in purple is where I think these are the trail, places where we would love to have trails where we don't currently.
Purple?
Purple,
Okay.
yeah. And
That's great,
so-
Charles.
Oh, good. So the area at the top left portion of the map that runs along Enchanted Forest Road from Lover's Lane over to, North Beach, or actually over to, Lavender Hollow, that's the section that we had gotten the funding for, but it wasn't used in a timely fashion, and so it was lost.
Was that LTAC funding, if you don't mind me asking, or?
It was 400,000.
No, it wasn't that much.
Oh, was it?
No.
It was a, can't remember the
It
name
was
of the
a
grant.
grant block, a
It
block
was a
grant.
block grant.
From whom, I don't remember.
What was that, Brian?
I don't remember the source of the grant. It was a block grant, so I assume it came from the Fed through the state.
Yeah.
Community development block grant.
So, and then, so that's still an important place, and it seems like a place to start, but it's not necessarily the only, place, or maybe we will have a different opinion of what should be prioritized. But then another huge section, which is very tricky because there's a significant drop off from the road, and there are lots of huge sort of heritage trees along there, but is from Enchanted Forest Road down to Maine,
All of Lover's Lane.
all of Lover's Lane there.
Yeah.
And so lots of people walk along that area, and
Well, the hardest part of that is from Main Street to Enchanted Forest. That's the difficult part.
yes, yes.
The other
And the
part.
lady
The other
with the
part is
motorized
not difficult.
wheelchair.
You're right, you're absolutely right.
So the
farther
Enchanted to
north.
Mount Baker is pretty
Right.
flat and open and no trees, but the, in front of the development, the housing development, what's that housing development called?
11,
Alder cottages?
no,
Alder, I think they're
On Lovers,
on Lover's Lane, all those
Yeah.
houses beyond Washington Federal.
Alder,
Well, anyway.
Doesn't make any
Yeah.
difference. Anyway,
So-
that's the tricky
so,
spot.
and that's probably a far more dangerous place to walk. And I think that as a, Dan has his hand up.
I don't know how do I behave as a member of the public? I'm not a member of you guys, you know.
Well,
So I just had a point to bring up about Apalco. I just wanted to share
Oh.
something with
sure,
the discussion.
so I
I don't know if that's legal or not.
just ask, and since we're on
Okay.
these discussion points, and we
Okay.
have people, professional people with
Input.
input, yes. And-
Okay. Apalco is interested in putting in a new underground line, from Main Street to the substation on Lover's Lane.
And they would be, that's where they've been doing all the clearing, so that's
It would
on
be
the
on
west side.
It would be over on, it would be probably, maybe, it could be on either side, it doesn't matter.
That
Well, you
would
did a
be,
lot of clearing.
that would be great.
That
that would be
overhead.
far better in terms of not having to disturb all those huge trees along Brightwater Lane and
Yeah.
that
Right,
area.
but if you wanted to put it, I'm just talking about in a sense of a trail.
Yeah,
Right,
You know, if you want, we would participate with the county or whoever,
oh,
you know, in,
that's great.
yeah.
in construction.
And that would be a far better side.
The west side.
The west
Absolutely,
side
Yeah,
would be a
absolutely.
far
Yeah,
better
it
side.
would be.
And you've recently done
Oh, that's great.
all of that
Yeah.
clearing.
And that was just to maintain the overhead.
Yeah, but you really went down to the ground.
Yeah, we did.
Well, that would actually be a great idea then, have a trail there, get rid of the trees and stuff in that area to protect
Well,
the
there's-
guys for decades.
There's hardly any
Yeah.
trees
Yeah, hardly any on
on
the west
that
side. The east side is
Yeah.
full.
Well, that's great news.
Yeah, okay,
So, other areas that are in purple, and some of this is, a little possibly controversial because, some of these that I've drawn on here are in the public right of way, and a couple are really not, but they're trails that we currently use. So, I have a question about, if you came down, I can't remember, what is the name of this street?
Where
Where
are we?
Lavender Hollow, in between Lavender Hollow and the Christian school?
Orion.
Orion.
Isn't it-
Orion.
isn't
If you
it-
come down Orion, at the end of Orion, there's sidewalk all along there,
Right,
and then it ends, and then an informal trail cuts through on county property,
Right.
and then you're on private property from there over to the, post office.
Clyde Dukes now.
Right,
Yeah.
And you're describing, just so I have it in context, you're describing, at this point, we're at the athletic club?
Yes,
It's-
Okay.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
north of the athletic club.
Yeah.
right.
The red-
And then,
Exactly
and
what
then
you're
once
talking
you hit the corner of the athletic club, then the athletic club is private property. And there are trails that go all along there that connect up with A Street. And then that goes down south to another piece of private property, which is owned by
Joe Cohen.
Joe Cohen. And then there's, and they have maintained these open walkways, and have allowed people to use them. They're certainly under no legal requirement to do so. And
Well, he allowed parking this summer.
yeah, that was very nice. But anyway, these are, well-trod paths that people use to get through town. And so, it would be amazing if we could somehow, talk to these property owners and, ask them to cede 5 feet to the county or something to allow us to, get some permanent pathways. I was really crushed when they built the new hotel on Main Street. The pathway that used to be able to take from behind, where Clever Cow is, whatever that.
Oh, yeah, the Eastsound Square.
Eastsound Square, you used to be able to walk right through there to Main Street, and now you can't. And so we have these little informal things that we think we can use, but we really can't. That's private property. So, anyway, it's worth asking the question if we could possibly codify, use of those.
Well, and this one in particular, the post office one, this has been, there was a huge design done by previous EPRCs, one that
with the roundabout.
With the roundabout, which I didn't, anyway.
That was Fred Klein.
But even
Yeah.
if you had a
But-
roundabout,
but-
you wouldn't be able to
but-
legally.
Well, see, and
have
that,
a
to me,
path
it's like, we don't, my personal belief in, or to share is that not to create a rule or a law or a road for a particular person or a situation. And in this particular case, this is not we don't know that the post office is always gonna be there. If the post office wasn't if the post office wasn't there right now, the traffic situation would not be what it is there.
Well,
And
that's
so-
fine,
and
but
so-
people still use,
Well,
still
no,
walk
but what
through
I'm
there to get
saying
to the
is
center of
that I
town.
think this also, with the path, we also maybe need to think bigger as connecting that as an outlet.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about that for years.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
huge sides.
Okay,
Well, there's some issues on wetlands on the, west side of Zukin property,
Right.
and so,
so just
there would have
for
to be some
David's
mitigation.
benefit, when we're talking about this little walkway, this little existing path from the end of Orion that comes down to the athletic center, there has been a discussion for a long time of turning that into a street.
Yeah, connecting it.
And,
Right.
and it is, there is county right of way through there.
So a couple of issues with that conversation was, one, on the west side of that going out to Enchanted Forest, you have a pretty dense residential, and Mike Parnell and the school on the other side, and Mike at one time had, expressed objection
Right.
to having that
And
there,
what does Mike own?
He owns the school.
the whole school.
But,
Oh, really?
but also within that, when he planted the trees, I mean, it's an issue. And it's, it's the thing of, I built my house here and now I don't want traffic to go by, but you're in Eastsound Commercial.
Yeah,
And-
all I'm giving, that's history, that's
Right.
what's
Okay.
happening.
But it was also
Yeah.
why Mike planted those trees
Yeah,
the way he
right,
did.
yeah, he was,
Now, I can speak not on behalf of Clyde, but we had a wonderful meeting with him on site down there about 2 weeks ago. The topic of the trail came up. I think they would actually be very amenable, for the athletic club and, Joe's property, to granting a permanent easement through there. The trail exists over there mainly because they were afraid people were doing it anyways, so they went ahead and just improved it. They wanted to basically try to improve safety where they already saw people walking through there. They were worried about the liability, but we had a very good discussion. We talked about trails, but not necessarily about the easements or anything else, but I think they'd probably be very open to that portion.
Was Joe Cohen included in that
Yeah,
conversation?
he was there. Yeah, we met with him and Clyde and had a great chat about the whole property, the whole area down there.
Great. Well, sort of part of my thinking is that maybe that isn't the most exciting place to put a path in Eastsound, because there's already one there. But in terms of the vagaries of changes of ownership and people's desires to do different things to their properties, since you've just had that conversation, that might be the best thing to focus in on, is something where you already have.
Well, I think you need to start where you've already got it. I think we could, more than likely get some movement there in a positive way. And really, the one thing I see with trails especially is, placemaking. We need good signage really directing where the trails are, above and beyond, everybody knows you can cut through there.
Yeah.
Just to try to get that. But yeah, that was one of our thoughts when we were looking at that. And it was not the context of our discussion, but that's where, Cindy and I really started looking at, trying to say what would work here. So it's actually a great discussion. I actually wish Cindy was still here for it, but it's a great discussion on that point, so.
Okay.
Was April there too?
No,
She wasn't?
no, unfortunately not.
Yeah.
But,
She was talking to me about a development on that property,
mhm.
so I don't know where that's at.
And it wasn't even, it was mentioned maybe someday, but no specifics, no timeline, nothing, but,
Yeah, I heard
that nebulous,
2
maybe,
years.
maybe in the
Yeah.
future was all I got. so.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
Just
If
keep
I
in
could
mind,
interrupt with a point there, if there ever were a development on that property, that would be a great exaction. Get
Yes,
that
it would.
trail up.
Yes, it would.
a great, what did you?
Exaction.
Exaction.
In other
Nice.
words, require them to dedicate a trail.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it would.
Well, that's great. So, so there's, the east-west or west-east over to what is currently the post office and may not always be. And then there's the section that goes down and crosses over a little ditch and to the Outlook Inn. And then there's also the two paths on the north and south of the retention pond. And it would be nice to be able to, codify, being able to bring a path down to those and, make sure that those stay open, because
Well,
otherwise there'll be paths to nowhere if someone develops with a fence.
but that part of the athletic club has a sidewalk that actually goes down the side
Mhm.
of their building to
Mhm.
the entrance of that.
Yeah.
So maybe
Trail.
maybe it only needs to be a dedication of 5 feet that goes from the sidewalk over.
Yeah.
But,
Well, if that crosses the road.
Yeah, because the hotel is they have employees parking back there right now.
Yeah.
And they're cutting through back and forth in that corner.
I think that would be okay. I mean, it just, maybe what you were saying, it just needs a sign that says to the Village Green.
right.
Yeah.
But I'm imagining that, they sell the athletic center and somebody decides to put a fence along that property line. And the retention pond would essentially be cut off.
Mhm.
There'd be no way, there'd be no reason, be no legal recourse to allow people to move through there. So I think that even though we don't have to build a path, because there is a sidewalk, just making a little, an access point
Well, doesn't the,
of a few
doesn't the
feet.
county own a little bit of this on that other side? I think this is,
Of the Seaview?
yeah, on the south side of the Seaview.
Yeah, I thought they
See,
did.
this, I think
Yeah.
this is county
Oh,
property.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not debating that it is. It is, I'm just saying that if the athletic club decided to put a fence on their eastern border,
I don't,
or let's say that they sold
Alright.
it till tomorrow and somebody
Well-
else decided to do that.
Eastern or western?
well, if you, yeah, see,
Eastern.
because
Oh,
the
okay,
county
yeah.
owns the western side, so we could, the county could just put a path in there where the blue line is, on the other side of the
You
road.
think the county owns this
Yes, yeah, I believe they do.
all the way down?
No, it's a small little space where,
This is county road? What I'm pointing to is the blue sort of sidewalk on the
Yeah.
east side of the building.
Okay, well, anyway,
Okay.
we don't need to get in the weeds
Okay.
of this.
Okay, so anyway, that's another area. And then there is currently a path, in the, lower
I
right
think there's
part
somebody
of the
trying
map.
to join.
In the lower right part of the map, there,
I didn't
there's
show anybody.
a little dotted,
Can you send me that link?
red line where there is a path that starts out at maybe 4 feet wide and quickly becomes maybe 2 feet wide.
Is that
And
along the road at Crescent Beach?
yes, yes,
Okay.
and down to the parking area. And so if there could be, that's an area where there is a path, but it might be nice to improve that path.
The county put about 5 years ago, I think.
The path?
That pathway. They had a brand new front loader and, I watched them.
You
Putting
mean they
gravel
put
in
down new gravel?
Yeah,
Oh,
they
okay.
put, and they widened it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Charles, that was one on your map that I was going to point out. I think your blue line goes too far to the east there. The path peters out before it reaches the beach. And there's nothing along the rest of Crescent Beach Road. We know that that is one of the 6 projects, I think, that are on the tip. And as I walked along that path just yesterday, or along the side of the road, rather, the north side of the road, and there is nothing there, and it's dangerous to walk. You either walk on the beach, which is fine, but if you don't, you can't walk or bicycle along the road, and it's a real hazard in the summertime particularly. So one of the things that I would love to see, and I think that there are a lot of other people who are interested in this, is to see that tip project get funded and be made into a real trail.
Is that something that EPRC needs to participate in, or is that something that's going to happen independent of us?
Well, I think
I've never-
that it should happen. Keep reminding Public Works and anybody else who has anything to do with it that is a project that's on the tip. And also, I think, a couple of things. There's most of the land there is owned by either the land bank or the preservation trust, aside from one private parcel. So there's a little bit of right-of-way or easement acquisition that needs to be done. But the other thing I was going to say is that there is a lot of public interest, and I think that there would be a lot of volunteer help should it be needed.
So
I'll bet you're right, Brian.
So perhaps an EPRC letter of support for that project for Public Works?
Yeah. We should just talk with Colin about it.
Okay,
So we can put that.
okay. Okay, great. So, let's see, the next, did you have some more?
No, so you're talking about, are you still on trails?
I am still on trail.
Okay, go ahead.
So I guess one other section that, and this may be a trail to nowhere at this point, but, is, the big parcel that's for sale, behind Paukeys.
Yeah.
Currently you can walk in the parking lot from the
Museum.
Historical Museum, and you can sort of, walk through that parking lot down and then kind of cut through.
Parking lot.
Parking lots, thanks. But now that the hotel's there, it's a little trickier. You can still do it. You can make your way through the buildings down to Main Street. But, I don't know, it's worth thinking about. I know, you've told us that this person has no love for the county, so.
Well,
Maybe that would be difficult.
True.
Maybe on the other side of his parcel, like
Yeah.
something that goes down between that parcel and the Orcas Hotel. I mean, the Outlook Inn, thank you.
Yeah.
Down to Main Street, if maybe something through there, if we could somehow get somebody to grant.
again, using that word that Brian had, if this were to be developed, maybe that would be something to be able to put
Exactly.
in.
Hello.
Hi,
Can
Dan,
can I
yes,
interject?
yes.
Yeah, this is Dan Beckford. I work for Palco.
Yeah.
Used to work for Public Works. there is a drain pipe that runs from the stormwater treatment pond. I believe it runs down along that property line,
Ah,
Which property line?
North-south?
north-south,
But I mean, from which corner, like?
it's from the south, southwest corner.
It's between Tedman's and the Eastsound, or, Nelson and the Eastsound Square, right?
Well, it's between Nelson and Outlook Inn.
Oh, okay.
There's
Oh,
a big,
okay.
big drain
Yeah.
pipe that runs down
Okay.
there. There may be an easement for that pipe
Okay.
oh,
Oh,
already, but I doubt there's a trail easement, but just an FYI,
Okay.
okay?
And that parcel, if I may, Lee, that parcel does have significant wetlands.
Yes, it does.
Identified on it, so, you know, from a trail point of view, it's just a little more complex. It's not a building, it's not a parking lot, it's easier to mitigate, but it's just something else to take into account.
Yeah.
And if I may, real quick, I just checked the agendas. If you wanted to provide any support in the tip, that is actually on the agenda for the council on Tuesday. So if you guys want to put together a letter and send it in to Ingrid for inclusion in the council packet, that meeting is on Tuesday.
Great.
thank you.
thank you,
I
David.
knew the process, I just wanted to make sure when it was going to be before them next, so.
Okay.
Good.
If Brian and David and Dan had not been here, you know, really,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true.
so
Well,
much
that's why we-
excellent
Michael Palco
information.
division- Yes,
This
yeah.
is incredible.
And I do have maps up if we want to look at any of the wetlands, anything like that, I can pop that up. in
Well,
just a
it seemed to
moment.
me, and you
Cool.
know, that some of the wetlands that have been in Eastsound haven't been, done correctly on some of the maps. And so I think there is a question on the Nelson property, really, well, part of the thing is, you know, that, is it an old wetland, or was it caused? And I think there's some effect, that it was.
I don't know how far we should go into that.
Yeah, I know, I mean, that was, you know, we get into,
Yeah.
Slippery slope.
there is a
Yeah.
slippery slope there,
I
but,
know the complete
Yeah.
history of that, and.
so we can do that offline.
All I know is the map says it's.
Stay away
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we can,
Yeah.
we can do that a little bit offline.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean a trail can't go through the wetland.
Right,
It
right,
just means our level of complexity,
right, and that's why we
exponentially went
lost,
up.
the funding, is because there was that, you know, bit of a strip on Enchanted Forest that,
Right, that's right.
that triggered, what Colin said, triggered all these things, and they just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
Or there was time restraints on the grant and everything, so the wetland posed the problem.
I don't know if it's because I'm connected to Teams, but I'm trying to click on, oh no, I just closed it.
Can't you just go back?
I can't, I have to go to the email I sent you and then I'll open it up.
waiting for that, I'm just gonna throw the camera back around.
Oh,
John,
great.
did you have luck getting on? Did John ever connect?
No, Rick Hughes did.
Okay,
Yeah. Oh.
oh, John must have given up.
Oh, good.
Okay, I've got your spot. John.
John, did I hear you?
Hmm.
No, that's Brian.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, so I have the other map open. Is that showing up?
I see the map just fine.
Great. So, the other areas that are perhaps of interest, is there is currently a trail that, that goes from Orion on Enchanted Forest, from west to east and connects to, North Beach Road. It is a kind of a, you know, hop over the ditch kind of a trail, not the best.
Well, it hops over the road here.
Yeah, it hops over the road and you have to step into the street to avoid some fast-moving water in places. So it's not really far from ideal. I don't know if you even want to call it a trail, but people certainly do use it. And it goes back,
To the fire department.
yeah, to the fire department through that field. So that is another, trail that's currently used. It's certainly a lot safer to go this way than to be on Lover's Lane.
Or North Beach Road.
Or
It's
North
a- I
Beach.
mean, I walk that a lot.
You do?
Yeah, yeah, I walk it a lot. It's a nice trail.
Okay.
This is okay too, along by the Christian school, but you do have to go across the street to
Oh,
get north, but I walk it a lot,
okay.
like
Well,
daily.
I don't think
So-
that these are, I don't know what portion of this, once you leave the road, is any of this, public land or easement? I think this is all on private
Well, no,
property.
because I think this is all,
McPeak,
McPeak,
yeah.
this is all
yeah.
in process of being, it's for sale. There's
Yeah,
a wetland, there's wetlands in there. But again, I think that's something, David, that we can look at as a development happens there.
Absolutely. And I think personally, we need to be doing more extractions as a county anyways, for right-of-way, for trails. That's just good planning practice.
Now, I don't know about this, but this is, I don't know, I don't know who the current owner of this is. I know who it used to be, but
This is
but
the
that's-
airport.
but that's
The
in the-
airport owns all of that.
I don't.
The airport
They
owns
do.
everything
Yeah.
right up to,
Yeah.
right up to the
Uh-huh.
saw shop.
Okay,
yeah, right up
okay,
on
they
the
bought
saw
it from
shop, they
Gretchen,
own
so-
all that.
Yeah, and so nothing can really happen there anyway.
Right.
So-
But they might agree to allowing to
Well,
have a
but
trail.
yeah.
Yeah.
They
that's-
would,
I think trails are perfectly allowed in the runway excursion zones. I don't think that's
Yeah,
an issue at
yeah.
all. I
So that
put
would-
many of them there.
you just can't have assembly in there.
Can't have an assembly, can't have a building.
Yeah. So that actually, that was, but it's also pretty well established, so,
It's well established, but it's, it's just one person wide. I mean,
well, it is.
it's scary. I've walked that. That is scary. Are you not telling you, in the evening,
Well,
evening, walking
there
on
were
Lover's
people-
Lane?
There were people sleeping in there. That was scary.
Okay. I wasn't talking about the woods. I'm talking about on the road
Oh, on
over
the
here.
road,
On the
yeah.
road.
Yeah, that is
That's
scary.
where it's
No,
scary.
Yeah.
but this is pretty well established and,
Okay, so, so that's those are the areas that I was looking at. Does anybody have any other thoughts about places where we need trails or things that should be prioritized above others?
you've got,
Mount Baker has that nice trail, so you don't need it there.
and North Beach North,
Yeah, North Beach has an excellent trail,
Yeah,
and this is actually
But
a
it
sidewalk now.
but it also crosses over,
It does.
at the, and I don't know is that really so bad?
It's not.
Dan?
Yeah.
Just a suggestion, Lover's Lane from Enchanted Forest up to, Mount Baker Road
Yeah,
Mhm.
for a trail.
yes, that would,
Where the
Yeah.
Lots of
substation,
people walking on that road.
yeah.
where the substation is.
Yes.
it'd be nice to have a
So-
5-foot trail
So
there,
if we
7.
could, if the county and Opalco could work together
Can I get anybody anything?
Oh, no,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks.
from
Delicious.
Washington Federal
I had a late lunch at the
to
tavern, so.
Enchanted Forest, and, where you're talking
All
about.
the way to Mount Baker Road, actually, all the way
Yeah,
to the substation.
so, but
Yeah.
that's the harder part. And then I don't know, in front of Eastsound water users, is there any right of way there, or does they go clear to their property go clear to the,
There's gotta be right
There's
away.
gotta be right away. I know there's wetland and stuff on the,
Yeah, and
On
that
the east
service
side,
and light
but it's
industrial
like-
section, there's,
Oh, on the east side,
then you start talking about what mitigation banking and stuff like that needs to be talked about in this county.
but if we stayed on the substation side.
There's probably also wetlands over there too.
There's a-
Well, there's a lot of water coming off that
There's a lot
hill.
of water.
Yeah.
It's just, but if there's county road right away, that's a good start. That's
that's
a really
pretty-
good, that's a really good start.
That's pretty free and breezy right in there.
Yes.
So,
And I'm
Well,
sorry, Oh, I'm sorry, I was gonna say, I'm sorry, Lee. Rick Hughes has a comment he'd like to make. He's got his hand up.
Sure. Go ahead, Rick.
Thank you, and I apologize if this is outside of public comment. But I wanted to make y'all aware, when I was in office, I worked with about 15 property owners on Blanchard Road. And there's a real need for a trail from the Y Camp would be great, but from at least Blanchard Road on the, I guess it'd be the east side of Mount Baker Road down to Enchanted Forest, or whatever that is, Lovers.
So,
That makes sense?
yeah, so you're talking about Blanchard to, going east,
Coming down the hill.
Coming down the hill, the county owns a big chunk of that land. They've got the public works facility and the sheriff's station.
oh, yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, one of the property owners in the business park put up a fence near the road, but I'm not sure that's even a legal fence. It might be in county right away, but that would be a really amazing way. There's a ton of kids that walk to school from there. And I think
Right.
you'd have a lot of community support. And if I remember correctly, it was on the roadworks plan under the trail subsection for about, well, it was back in 2020. I don't know where it is now, but anyway, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Rick,
thank you.
Which side of Mount Baker Road are you talking about? The
My
south
suggestion
side?
would be on the sheriff's station side. So I guess that's the south side of the road.
South side, yeah.
Yeah.
Great, thank
Which
you.
al-
That's
which
good.
also, Rick and Brian, I brought up, several months ago when Rock Island dug up the south side from the road, just the Tidewinds Road, which is the driveway right above Gibson's. They dug up that all the way down to past Curtis's property, and I asked if they could, actually, the county would chip it, because it's a perfect path. It's really nice, and to do something with it before it got overgrown again. It still hasn't happened yet, but that would link up nicely with what Rick is talking about.
Okay, just tell me what the section is you're talking about.
It's from Tidewinds driveway, which
Yeah.
is, connects, if you went on the other side of the street, that's all Camper Kyla. So it's basically Camper Kyla's line to, I believe, Bart Curtis's.
Right,
I don't know Bart Curtis.
just before Black Dog.
Okay.
Black Dog
Okay.
Farm, where the
Okay.
big cow was with the big horn.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
there.
Bart owns just to the west of that.
So I'm not sure, from what Hughes was talking about, there might be a space between there and Blanchard, but I'd have to look on the map. But
Okay.
that would give you a path access all the way to, Camper Kyla.
Yeah.
And we know a lot of kids are coming along there.
Right,
Yeah.
well, then they have a path that goes in and goes to
Mhm.
the field. There's nothing
Mhm.
along the road,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of people that walk that every day.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a
Yeah.
good one. Thank you, Rick.
Okay, so,
Madam Chair, sorry, Brian's actually got a comment. He just raised his hand.
Brian?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I read and commented on the county's Ross plan a couple of weeks ago, which is the recreation and open space plan, used to be parks, trails, and natural areas. And one of the recommendations of that plan is that each island should have a trail committee to coordinate with the county on trails. San Juan Island and Lopez already have good active trail committees. Orcas doesn't. And so we should have. I know there are a lot of interested people. I think I've tried to nominate Rick Hughes for to lead that effort. But we should have an organization, maybe EPRC should start it, or at least take the lead, as Charles has, on at least the in-town part of that.
Yeah, or have a liaison from EPRC on the Orcas Trails Committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be good.
Well, yes, because we, I do know in the past, we've had presentations of when Rick was trying to get those easements, you know, towards the ferry through Crow Valley and stuff, and I'm
Right.
not quite sure where that went or didn't.
So that,
Ongoing.
the first thing that comes to my mind is that whenever we talk about an issue that sort of crosses over from Eastsound to the rest of Orcas, like, I think we should talk to Cindy about that if,
Yep.
you know, because she may already know about somebody who's starting a trails committee or something that we could participate in. Was there some kind of a comment period that there's a deadline on for that, Brian?
Yeah, it's gone. It either has gone or I think is about to go to council for approval.
Okay.
They wanted to wrap the plan up very quickly.
Okay, so maybe that's going next week. I could look at the agenda, maybe.
It might, just knowing what the agendas look like for the next few weeks. I know next week is heavily packed. The 29th is heavily packed, even though we've got the comp plan on it. So I know they're trying to get year-end stuff knocked out and done, so.
Okay.
I just don't know. I'll be happy to take a look, though.
Okay, so I think we've kind of,
So, yeah, I think we fleshed all these out, and maybe we could talk about what we think are priorities. I think some of these, you know, in a vacuum, we might choose one way, but knowing that we've got support from Opalco, who's going to be making moves in certain areas, and property owners who have already said they're amenable to formulating permanent trail rights and easements. What does anyone think is the number one priority of these that we have listed? So,
well, can I interject something
yes,
before
of
we do that? So what is Opalco's timeline? Do you know? For the Lover's Lane piece?
Lover's Lane, it would actually, we've got a lot of projects,
I know you
and that would be one of them that's not a top priority, but we do already have cable in there, but it's just not quite big enough to
5 years?
meet redundancy, but we don't have a set timeline.
Okay.
But if somebody was doing work
You would,
on that section of road, we would get involved.
So that'd be the catalyst.
That would
for
be the
you.
catalyst.
Yeah,
okay.
And we're doing that a lot these days with fiber projects. We're getting in
yeah.
the mix on fixing old cable where fiber's running, just to help us prioritize, so,
So my priority would be Lovers as number one.
Okay, so just to kind of run these down again, I'm gonna go back to a different screen. I hope it will come up. I don't want to.
The first ring you had?
Yeah, the first map. So we've got, Lover's Lane from Maine to Enchanted Forest, and then Enchanted Forest to Mount Baker, and then Opalco's interest for the whole run up to the substation, but not north of the substation.
right.
That's one. We've got Blanchard Road to Lovers on the south side of the road. And then sort of in concert with that, the Tidewinds down to Bart Curtis's. We've got Orion to the Athletic Center, and then going eastward to connect to A Street.
Charles, I would add Crescent Beach to that.
Okay, and Crescent Beach, okay. So, Brian, when you're talking about Crescent Beach, you think that, how far do you envision that trail going? Because it sounded like you were saying take it all the way to,
McKay's.
Park.
Well, I know beyond, all the way to, Olga Road. That, I believe, is what the tip envisions.
that's what the tip is gonna say, oh, okay.
But how do
Yeah.
you have a trail in front of the gas station, the old gas station,
Don't go that far.
to go to the country corner?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There has not been, as far as I know, even a schematic of the trail, but it was envisioned on the north side of Crescent Beach Road, which is going to take some engineering and, as I say, a little right of way. But somebody should start looking at it.
Okay. So I think this thing is finally reloading. Come on, baby.
So, actually, what I really learned in this is that I really need to be on Teams, so I can
There it is.
actually see
Yeah.
everything.
Nope,
No,
that's the old one.
that's the old one. Well, all right. Well, we know what we're talking about. So, okay, so, Terry has put in his, vote for the Opalco Lovers Lane, as the number one priority. Does anyone have a differing opinion from that?
Well, no, I think that's good, but I think, as far as safety, probably the biggest safety issues is that, but it's also Lover's Lane Enchanted to the east, which is what we thought we were gonna
Mhm.
do.
Is that
Mhm.
separate from that, or the
Well-
same?
Well, I think that
The reason that's number one for me is safety.
it's safety.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, but then I think that's also a safety issue, well,
Is that the stretch that, what the wetlands shut down?
It's-
In front of the
yeah, the
yeah,
saw
the
shop.
saw
That-
shop.
It's
Saw
okay
shop,
until it
yeah.
gets to the end of like Duke's old property, and that's where where it gets
Yeah.
into the swale.
Yeah, I think that's it. If you wanna connect from, and go from the inside out
Mhm.
with your trails, you know, you need to connect Enchanted Forest, that section,
Yeah.
and then you connect Lover's Lane, you know, so you're
Right.
connecting in and then out. And
Mhm.
I agree that section is really,
Right.
really important.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
sort of like,
it's a T,
it's sort of like anything on Mount Baker and Lovers, like that's the most dangerous place to walk. So if you can cross that safely, then once you're headed farther, deeper into Eastsound, it's a little safer if you're walking on the road there.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with you that it would be, it seems like it makes more sense to build the trail out from the center. But it's very tempting to just say, well, let's at least get something safe on those two, and we already do on Mount Baker.
and we have, and we've got
Mhm.
North Beach.
Right.
We've got really good
Right.
from Enchanted Forest to Mount Baker.
Yeah.
So that's very safe.
And then the opportunity to get some of those exactions in the center of
Yeah,
town.
That's one of the things that I'm looking at in the code, because we do need more, proper dedications of right-of-way trails, you know, and doing that. And it is good, proper planning practice, you know, to get the extractions, whatever we can. You know, having the trails, Parks Trails Open Space, or, and I know they're not calling it that now, but to have that trails plan, include that language, that's important. I did just check, so that is on the agenda for November 29th. Same day as the comp plan. So,
Great, thank
if you
you.
want to throw in support, I would absolutely throw in, you know, letter support or comments, on that. The public comment period for the plan for staff may be closed, but it's still open for the council. Yeah, so,
Oh,
and, you know, please send it in if you've got some comments.
Okay, so if we prioritize these and the county, you know, has money and purpose through the TIP or through the Recreation and Public Space Plan to do those, we were able to procure the money before with that block grant. Is there, you know, if we say, hey, this is our number one, this is our number two, and they say, we got those covered, those are in the plan, what would we want to pursue next?
Crescent Beach for me.
not, Baker,
What was that?
Has
Tide.
on the north side by in between that and the airport has a nice trail on it. Use it all the time.
What are we
On the
talking
north
On the
side of
black-
Mount Baker Road.
On, Seaview,
Oh, no, we're,
Oh, you just mean right
yeah, right there.
Not farther west.
Yeah, I'm not farther, you're talking farther west.
yeah.
So that,
Yeah, but Tidelands,
Another comment, Crescent Beach has got a higher speed limit on it. It's 35 miles an hour, versus Lover's Lane is 25. Mount Baker Road is 25 until you get to the cemetery, and that's 35. So wherever you have a high speed limit, pedestrians, you have a real safety challenge.
that's only what they're posted, Dan, everybody drives faster than
I know.
that.
Yeah.
It's-
So-
That's true.
So what you're
Yeah.
saying is the higher which space are you talking about that's has the
Crescent
high,
Beach.
Crescent Beach has the higher speed?
It has the higher,
Oh.
yeah.
But
I could go either, one of
So
those, they're both
Crescent-
busy.
so Crescent, I'm just trying to think, Crescent, you know, has a lot of ownership from Land Bank and Preservation Trust. So that is gonna take some working with them, a letter to them or something to.
What's the climate like with them, Brian?
Well, I can speak for the land bank and a trail, I'm sure would be no problem. For the Preservation Trust, I really don't know for sure.
So what do you think the land bank's participation would be? Is it helping to build it, or is it giving right away to the county to build it? Or,
Well, I think probably that trail would be a unified public works project. So I would say giving the right of way to the county, probably. I mean, you know, the trail should not be built piecemeal.
right, so it would be we would request to Public Works to build it and request them to get a right of way from, Land Bank.
From the Land Bank Preservation Trust and the owner of the kayak rental there.
And, what's?
Joan.
Joan.
Yeah.
So another piece of that would be that maybe EPRC could write to those three entities and ask for their support. So when we would submit to Public Works, the project, we could have an endorsement from them, then the county would in turn talk to them about getting an easement. Does that sound like
Yeah.
the proper,
Exactly.
okay. So
I
we,
hope you're taking notes, because
so we need a
was lost
letter,
in my own thoughts there.
so EPRC needs a letter to Joan Roba and Land Bank and Preservation Trust to support, a trail
Right,
along,
and it's
Crescent Beach.
Roarbaugh.
Roba, along, Crescent Beach.
Does anybody have a relationship with them?
Yeah, I mean, I know her,
Okay,
yeah.
all
So,
right.
Brian, you walk down there a lot. Do you have a relationship with Joan or David?
I don't know Joan at all personally.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So we can work on a letter, and work on,
So,
those three entities.
okay,
And that gets you to the parking lot.
And that actually gets us to the parking lot.
so we,
Only.
we need, I had made notes earlier that we're gonna have a letter of support for the project regarding the tip specifically. And we need to send that to Ingrid.
To the council.
Okay,
Leith and Charles, here's what I would suggest, that EPRC should write a letter to the council, probably under the auspices of the Ross Plan, supporting that, the Crescent Beach Trail, and CC, the Land Bank, the Preservation Trust, and Colin.
Oh, Colin.
I don't think we want to ask for easements yet, but this is sort of giving everybody a heads up that we'd like to focus on this priority.
So don't you think we should CC the private property owner?
I don't,
I wouldn't.
I don't know, I think that might be.
Yeah, I think that that's right.
Okay. So you're talking about writing something to council, supporting that plan,
Right.
supporting the project, and sending it a copy to Land Bank and Preservation Trust.
And Public Works.
And Public
Public-
Works. And I'll be glad to help draft that.
Okay, great, that would be fabulous, because this needs to be done by next Tuesday,
Yeah,
right? What's the date on that?
Tuesday
Next
is
Tuesday?
8th, if I'm not mistaken, is that right?
Something
No.
like that, okay,
Right?
okay.
Yes, close, yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, so that's,
11th is Friday.
okay. Okay,
okay, I
Sorry,
think that,
does that have to be done
I
by
think that-
Tuesday?
that separately, I'm sorry, can I move to another
yeah,
comment? I think that separately, we should, prioritize these 5 trail possibilities and send that list to
council.
to Cindy and to council.
And we
And-
need to do that on November 29th.
And then I think we should also copy Public Works on that and ask Colin, you know, I'm sure that he's gonna say, well, that's in the tip, we'll pursue that, you know. So, but if there's one of these that is not gonna be covered, not on their work plan, that we could do some legwork for and write a grant proposal for, then maybe we could help him do that. I know he's very busy, but if he could sort of give us blessing, then we can go and fill out the forms and
Okay.
pursue that.
So basically then our number 1 is Lover's Lane, right?
Yeah,
And number 2, is that Enchanted, is
Is-
that Enchanted Forest or not?
well, are we saying, because Crescent Beach is already,
Well, we're
Taken
gonna
care
put, we're gonna put Crescent Beach on there.
Crescent Beach was third, wasn't it?
okay,
Yeah.
all right, so.
So 2 was,
Lovers, Enchanted Forest,
Crescent Beach,
Crescent Beach,
we need 2 more?
and then Blanchard, or, Mount Baker.
Yeah, right.
Mount Baker, yeah.
Because if that's, yeah,
Yes.
And
Right.
we'll be lucky if one of those happens before we're all gone.
We need a 6-year trail plan,
Yeah.
that's what we need.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's a start. And then I think we also need to ask Cindy for, you know, to offer the possibility of offering support and participation in, an Orcas Trails Committee.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so, wow. Yikes, did we ever get off on that? What do we wanna do here? On streetscapes, so what do we wanna do? Do we wanna try, to, see if we can get Colin for a period of time on
No,
where he is?
I think that what we said at the last meeting was that we needed to come up with our thoughts and then present that to Colin, rather than taking his time for discussion of them. So,
Okay, so, boy, we've done this so long ago. I need to have some help in refreshing my memory, because the last time we talked about this, and Colin was there, we talked about the importance of that the different streets in Eastsound have different needs. And we couldn't have a one-size-fits-all thing. And we also wanted to be able to give Public Works some flexibility into making some different decisions, because this all happened with Victory Hill. And,
so,
but we also wanted to make sure that there was something in place that if they deviated from the plan, that it came back to Eprc for review. Because they could make a simple idea is, you know, if that property owner is mandated to do, parking and landscaping, but there's a lot of landscaping next door, then maybe they won't do the landscaping, but the parking is necessary, or vice versa, as opposed to that. So
I don't like that example, but yes, that's exactly what.
I know.
Because it seems like every time
Yeah,
we make any decision, we end up losing a
Yeah.
lot of tree cover.
yeah. So I don't know, I mean, before, when we had the map up and we had the different, you know, Pine
Here's what
Street.
I think we should do. I think we should, either next month or in a separate meeting, I think we should take the existing street plans that,
The drawings.
streetscapes, the drawings that, Colin has already provided to us. I think we should do a mock-up of what we think should happen, on the Victory Hill curve.
Well, it's kind of a moot point now.
Well, but then there's everything to the west of it, and now there's everything to the south, the east of it and to the south of it. So, as those get developed, all of their landscaping and their signs and everything that are in the right of way are, they're gonna need to come up with a plan for that. So I think that offering a starting point for a suggestion of what to do there. So I think that's one.
Okay.
And then the other is to take the 5 components of any streetscape: parking, width of the sidewalk,
Landscaping.
access, landscaping, and we should need to prioritize those and then say, we suggest that this is what you should hold firm on, this is the most important, and, with a sliding scale down to the least important. And I think that we should then present that to Colin as a
Well, I think that's.
proposal.
Yeah, I think it would work out that there's the top 2, is the landscaping and parking. But, okay, so maybe we can, outside of the meeting, we can work on, pulling those streetscapes together that we've had, and I'm sure that they are online. I think that's where Colin got them originally, so.
I can put them all in one document and a mock-up of that curve, and then we can look at it and critique it.
Yeah, okay, but then also do Pine Street and Madrona and Fern and,
But they've got streetscapes for those already. I believe.
I think there's streetscapes for all of them, but that.
Yeah, but they're different.
But they've caused problems, so we wanted to.
Yeah, so I don't think
Work
we
with
have
the
to,
code.
we don't have to draw new streetscapes for them, but rather just to say,
Okay,
if you can't fit this in, here's what to scrap first.
all right. Well, okay, so again, we're getting into a lot of detail, so, yeah, the overall, okay.
Okay, so I will commit to putting that together.
Okay, and so do you want to well, let's just see if we can get that, if we can do that next month or not, or it's gonna be maybe in January. So, is that
Mm-hmm.
okay with
Yep.
you?
Mhm.
Okay, so, so next up was, code violations. What we were, I think there was an idea, David, that, we were trying to figure out what would be the best help to you, and thinking that, would it be better for us to have something in writing?
Any code violations you see, just go ahead and make the online report.
Okay.
Fill the form out and send it in, and we'll get it into the stack. Everything's prioritized, so if it's a low priority issue, it may take weeks or month, two, before we can get to it. If it's an environmental issue, we're trying to get on those within 24 to 48 hours,
Okay.
as quickly as possible. But I would just send them in.
Okay.
I
So,
wouldn't wait for a meeting or anything else to hand them off, just get them into the system.
okay. So we need to,
Do those get given like a ticket number or anything?
Unfortunately not. Not until we get to actually issuing a notice of violation do we generate a case number, because when the SmartGov system got brought up, it was only brought up for building permits. None of the code enforcement stuff got included in there. So we're still running on paper files for code enforcement, and that's one of the big problems. Now, if they see fit,
well, so how do you see it coming now? I mean, kind of like we all have been talking about the one in town, is it, so what's happening there?
Well, it is allowed. The clock has started on it. He's got 6 months where he can live there. Unfortunately, the land
Where'd
use
you find
designation allows that. It's camping, legally camping. And it's allowed in pretty much every district for up to 6 months. That's the problem. Same thing
Okay.
we've got with the people living in the RVs in the forest.
So I see it a little differently, and if you go into the sub-area plan and you look at, the allowed residential uses, well, first off, my question is, what do you call it? It's a travel trailer, right?
Yep.
Okay, it's not a manufactured home.
No, not at
Okay,
all.
right,
Not at all.
so that's not listed, so there's no code enforcement to go with that. It, according to the plan, it falls under a CUP.
The problem is camping is allowed in pretty much every land use designation in the islands. It actually rolls out of the sub-area plan up to
Yeah.
the county.
See, I never thought of camping, I just
I
thought,
know, and it's not right.
yeah.
Well,
Not at
I
all.
thought that,
You're allowed to camp on your own land.
You are
I
allowed to
thought
camp
that
on-
But not for money,
but I thought that,
which
He's-
is what a lot of
it's
this
not
is
his own
being-
land,
is,
he's
It's not
renting
his
it.
ex-wife's land.
no, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's a woman
It is
it's
not.
a woman that lives in Mercer Island.
Yeah.
But if she's giving permission to be
I
there,
thought
It's a rental.
I can't prove it. That's the legal threshold I have. I can't prove it's a rental. Unless you have some compelling evidence that says a contract or something, I have no way to legally prove it's being rented. I can't use,
Except that he's not the legal owner of the property.
but if he's given permission to be there,
Okay.
I can look around town and I can find RVs hiding in, every other
I
yard,
thought in our thing,
unfortunately.
there's definitely said.
See, I didn't see it as a code violation, I see it as a CUP
Mhm.
requirement.
Yeah.
Okay,
From a CUP commercial use.
conditional use.
Conditional
Yeah,
use.
which
You
goes
have to
before
have
the
a
planning
public-
commission.
And a public hearing.
Yeah,
Well,
most of it is
Yeah, it goes to
handled,
hearing examiner.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
But I thought it definitely on this
I didn't
chart,
even see it hooked up to power today when I drove. I took a peek over there.
he's had that hooked up for a while.
I figured he
Yeah,
has, I mean,
he
that's
has.
why the sub panel's there, but I didn't see the umbilical today.
Yeah,
And I got my toes.
it's definitely there, but it was, I've always thought.
well, what complicates this, I don't even know if I should go into this, but the neighbor to the west
Mhm.
is frustrated by
Remember that
the
this is
existence
being
there.
recorded.
I know, yeah. So, but they're afraid to say anything.
Yeah.
And they've talked to me a couple of times.
Yeah.
About it, and so,
Yeah, they need to call us.
we're feeling like
Yeah.
something should be done.
Well, and
They need to call us.
and when I drove out of town the other day,
I don't think they'll do that.
on
Pete.
Sunday.
I know.
They're
but-
very
I know.
reluctant to do that.
But that's part of the issue I run into about whether he's renting it or not, unless I start getting hard evidence. And when we do a code enforcement case, I don't ever look at the legal threshold as being the hearing examiner. I look at the legal threshold being Superior Court when we get appealed. You know, can we uphold the case in Superior Court? If we can, then we're good. If all we're getting to is a simple case of preponderance of evidence at the hearing examiner, it's not a good case.
So
We'll
you're,
lose on appeal.
you're camping, yeah, okay, but you're camping, where would I find this on the allowable uses? It's not
Oh,
under
it would be I
residential.
wanna say it would be under, 1830,
That we
1830 or 1860. and
I'm under
I
1830,
apologize.
but I don't see camping anywhere in here
Out here on preserved
as an allowable use.
land. There, I don't, I guess that's how we had it
Well,
as,
It's VRI
but there was a,
is the zoning.
there was a thing that, because we said no camping on, well, it was on, Mount Baker Farm property. It said no camping.
I'm looking right now and I don't see it.
That would be a residential use, right? Camping?
Right, it would be under a residential, I would think.
It would not be under the use table, I don't believe. It's not under the use table.
Where would it be?
That's what I'm looking
How,
for right
how
now.
is it allowed then?
Brian, where was that? We were talking about a nature conservancy or something, and we specifically said no camping.
Well, that was
So that's just under that,
That was our proposal for adding to
Not
the
under
natural section.
transportation.
okay, so basically this is under,
Oh, it might be under recreational. Camping facilities in public parks is no. Indoor, outdoor, parks.
I'm not finding it quickly on a quick keyword search, but
It would be under,
James.
recreational, wouldn't it?
oh, here
I
it is.
believe so.
Camping facility, oh,
It's not a camping facility.
no, it's not,
It's camping on your own land.
parks. yeah.
Oh.
It may not even be in.
Outdoor recreational development, well,
Yeah,
that's
that's
still a
not-
commercial.
It's all, yeah, everything you're going for is
It's all
development.
commercial.
Yeah. Would it be back in
Recreational-
here on the notes?
I'm wondering if it's
Vehicle
not an
parks.
RCW.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Okay,
And
well,
I apologize, I wasn't prepared to.
well, no,
Sure.
no,
what
no,
the
well,
answer was, so.
but we're just trying to find those spots.
Yeah.
Well, it would
But
be,
it's not camping zone land.
It's what?
They don't own the land. It's not camping on his own land. They don't own the land.
No,
Yeah,
they
that's-
don't.
Well, but if they're being given permission by an owner, that's part of the problem.
That's an extension of,
It's an
okay,
extension of the owner.
yeah, okay.
We're gonna need to write her a letter.
Well, I can find
well,
out.
yeah, so that's a bigger question. So is
I mean-
camping just an allowable use, residential use
Mhm.
that is
Yeah, but it's-
inherent with residential
All
property
residential-
in
all
the state of
residential, all
Washington?
properties, in the county.
But for only for
I believe it's
6
an
months.
You know, the more I look here, I believe it's an RCW. I can try to get the specific code citation James is using.
And only for 6 months?
6 months.
You can
Well,
camp for
he's
6
been there
months.
5 months right now.
Next question, is that something that can be limited
What's that?
I said it may
via a land use
especially since,
spec-
Yeah.
you know, the grapevine was that,
Problem is, what do I do with all the
person who
people
lives
we've
there
been
bought a
homeless?
piece of property, so.
Well, yeah.
That's the problem I've got.
He's been
But at least
doing
it could
several
be,
of those.
you know, because this is someone who's
Who helped create this?
pulling down $300,000 a year. This is
Well,
not
Be
someone,
careful.
oh, sorry, no,
That's-
okay.
The judge-
It's not a
Well,
homeless
I
person.
believe we find, and I don't want to get into too much on code enforcement here in this meeting. I can't talk too much more about it.
Okay,
That's okay.
And it's, yeah,
We got our
It's
question.
not a case
Okay.
yet.
and then we're not,
It is,
It is?
it is.
We
Yeah,
got, well, we got our answer that what we need to do is, we just need to fill out the forms and send them in. So
Yes.
that's was the question.
Well,
And,
Yeah.
if I may, maybe the bigger question for David is what do we do to tighten up the code to prevent this kind of thing in the future?
I don't know that we do. I need to take a quick peek and see what section it is, whether it's our code or state
Okay.
code. I'm thinking at this point, it may be an RCW.
If you
that
could find
provides-
that.
That provides that 6 months. I'm actually sending it right now, so he can get me an answer in the morning.
I just have to tell you, David, this has frustrated a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people not happy about it.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm very aware. And as I said, we're aware of them all over Eastsound. I'm actually
Yeah.
glad there's another site right on Main Street that I'm aware of that had 4 of them. Now they have 2, thankfully.
oh, because they went south?
Yeah, because they went to warmer climates, but, you know, and they were tucking in, and quite frankly, I had more of a concern over that because of potential fire, the way they played Tetris with a bunch of RVs,
Yeah,
to get them all to fit.
Yeah.
That was, I have more concern with than,
as
you
a
know,
safety issue.
this is an eyesore, and we all agree with that.
This is another, point to bring up about why I think, we should continue to pursue getting better screening requirements in East Sound.
Yep.
Because if we did, then I think we would have far fewer complaints if something was.
It is a double-edged sword, though. So.
Gives them something to hide behind.
Exactly. More screening requirements is a higher threshold than for us to be able to do code enforcement. In other words, they can make a junkyard behind a fence and we would never be able to legally see it until it burns to the ground and spreads to other businesses.
As is case in point with the one you're talking about. You know,
Exactly.
nobody was really complaining about that one because
Nobody
they
was
really couldn't
complaining,
see
and-
it.
Yeah.
So tell me again why this is code enforcement and not just a conditional use permit? Because of the camping?
It is because of the camping provision, yeah.
Yeah, huh.
And that it allows for it. You know, one of the things I have talked about actually with the planning commission at our last meeting, we did just a round table, was should we look at a provisional use permit? So not a full-blown use permit, but something we can administratively approve to allow RVs, motorhomes, to be on properties for set periods of time while they're building. In other words,
Right.
I know I've got hundreds of them out here. I know I do. Can we legalize them and ensure that the environmental damage isn't happening? That they have a septic system, they have water, they have power that's appropriate, you know, that the site itself is safe.
That's safe.
You know, should we? And when we get into the beginning of next year, you know, probably February, March, this is a discussion I'm bringing back here as part of the big housing package that, you know, the planning commission talked about and ideas. Because we've got to do something, but what do we do?
See,
How do we suddenly make 500 people homeless and islandless? And not just that, but then what does that then do to all of our businesses? You know, if we tell all of them, sorry, they can't be here anymore, how many businesses do we close? That's the tough philosophical debate right now.
yeah, and you want to be careful about pitting neighbor against neighbor for
Absolutely.
enforcement.
Absolutely.
And, you know, will the county be able to enforce all of that without that happening? I doubt it.
I know.
Yeah,
And
so.
that's a tougher, I always tell everybody, make us be the bad guys.
Well, yeah.
I don't want the neighbor disputes. We could be the bad guys, you know, file the report anonymously to us. We'll go out, we'll see if there's a violation. We don't know who put it in. You know, we become the bad guys, and that's fine.
Yeah.
We're happy to be the bad guys
Sure.
every day of the week.
That's the way it should be.
Because, well, at the end of the day, they have to live together,
Yeah.
not me.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think it's an important distinction that we're all making about, something that could maybe not penalize the person who's living in one right now, but make it a lot harder for the next person to put another one on the property, you know, so if there are already 2 on a lot and number 3 gets pulled in, you say, oh, no, you can't do that, you know?
And I know we've got one someplace out here. you know, I know we've got that situation out there, and I don't know is the answer. Because enforcement becomes really difficult at that point. And these are things, you know, as soon as we hit one, they're gonna point the finger.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We got pointed at them, well,
Well, this would be
10 more
really,
fingers are
yeah.
going out, so there's 10 more cases because.
this would be
of that.
really easy to keep the camping provision in there
Mhm.
if you said it's only allowed on your own property.
Yeah.
You know, and then you get away from this.
I agree. And it's that, you know, it's that permission basis in there. Honestly, I don't have a lot of sympathy for people that just take over other people's land, they're just the squatters. I don't have sympathy for that at all.
Yeah, right.
You know, most of the time when we run into those, the homeowner or the landowner had no clue for it. They haven't visited in 2 years. They had no idea, you know, that this camp had been moved onto their property, until they get the phone call. And
Wow, I didn't know that was happening.
Okay,
It
well,
seems though
thanks.
that like a lot of approaching this camping issue, there's a couple things that are gonna be tied up in it. One is, we need to understand more clearly what the rules are about, telling people they can't camp someplace, what we have to be able to provide for them in order to be able to tell them that there's zones where they can't be. We have to provide places where they can't be, if they're homeless otherwise. So there's that. And then there's also the fact that, I'm guessing that 50% or upwards of our restaurant staff right now are in housing that I don't personally know a lot about. And so we need to address that and make sure that they've got decent places to live before we start.
Well,
I'm not so sure about that.
I'd far rather say you can't have this second, third, whatever trailer in this residential neighborhood, but you can come over here and be on this concrete pad that we have provided over here, you know? Because it's not, it may not be as pleasant, but it still allows them to live in their RV, but away from, you know.
Well, and that comes to another discussion we were having with the commission, is the need for really more RV parks.
Well, and that was
And-
coming up in housing,
Yeah.
but, I think we need to be careful about, making generalizations about, not really having facts about where some of our workforce is, because, I mean, I know a lot of people that are in our restaurants and they all are living in homes, you know, so.
You know, and
But-
that's the tough part, because I know right now I have members of my own staff, you know, that have lived in these trailers as temporary type housing. I know several major employers that, you know, set people up in camps, you know, for the summer.
Right.
And everything. We actually just shut one down last week. You know, and it just gets tough, but you're absolutely right. But I've seen everywhere from professional staff to line level staff, you know, that have had to go through this because of that lack of housing. And it's, you know, our housing needs are not just the affordable side, it's everything.
Right.
It's everything, and it's also everywhere. We are not. They were just talking about that on the news in Florida.
Mhm.
They had 700,000 people move into Florida last year, and the rents in Miami just went up there like $2,900 a month.
Yeah, it's skyrocketed.
And
For the south, that's.
What I don't understand
Very
is
expensive.
how Miami last week condemned a high-rise for structural failure, and 2 days later announced a brand-new high-rise to be built. I don't get that. Anyways,
yeah, okay.
probably enough of that.
Probably not
topic.
supposed
Probably
to.
enough of that
Yeah.
topic.
We're not the Miami Center.
Don't
Not
build,
like
don't
that.
build on a sandbar. Oh, our entire state is a sandbar.
Our
Oh.
state is a sandbar.
Right. Yeah, and it's, you know, looking at the components of that housing problem, I did some preliminary looking at where could you have legal camping? And, does the county own any property where you could do that, you know, without going out and spending money developing, you know, buying and developing property? And the answer was pretty much no. Everything that was suitable was land bank.
Well, if we had to prioritize anything,
Yeah.
parking would overrule camping by far for me.
Well,
That would be priority one.
Yeah, and then looking at the other end of it though, in that missing middle housing, which is really, in my mind, becoming a very critical component of this situation, is the 100% to 200% of area median income.
Yeah.
That's a place where it's really important to get private partnership, because government can't touch it. We can give soft support, but that's not anything that anybody's gonna subsidize. So that is a situation that is, you know, I'm hearing conversations start to happen in the community, and I'm having a few myself.
Yeah.
But, that's gonna be the, one of the, those two, I think, are gonna be the most intransigent pieces. Those are the hardest to solve.
This would probably be extremely unpopular, but, I mean, we do have like huge sections of parking lots at the school and behind the fire department where there are lots of unused parking spaces out there.
East of the Catholic Church is a huge area right there for parking.
I think what you'd find is their risk insurance would absolutely prohibit it. I think is what you would see.
but
I don't know.
I think I don't know. I think we've moved on into housing, but,
Okay.
I think we kind of need to change our mentality of not in my backyard, and that's been the attitude for a long time. I don't want that. I mean, there were times that I sat in on these meetings 20 years ago, and it was like, we need a trailer park, we need a trailer park. No, you know.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
these things happen, and so
yeah.
it's almost like, okay,
If we had good screening, I
Well,
think people would be willing to
it's-
allow more trailer parks.
and it's
Yeah.
like, there's not gonna be any one fix. It's gonna be a lot of ideas, and that's why I was kind of excited when I heard this thing about that, whatever it is, or whatever, you know, was we need to look a little bit outside the box, but we also need, I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other day, I know some property. Well, first off, I talked to a person and said, we need to find some private ownership that would be willing to do that in different places on the island. And then I just, last night, I think it was, had a conversation and said, there is property out there.
Yeah.
And we need some of those people that have had a lot of longevity that know where those pieces of property are. And I was quite surprised at, I mean, I know of these pieces, but I never thought about them before.
I have a question. Do you happen to know how much property the Oaks is on? How much that took?
Over on San Juan, I am guessing it feels like 20 to 30 acres.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Just from
such
driving
a well-done
Very.
thing.
The problem with the Oaks is it is single ownership of the land,
Right.
and you cannot get traditional financing.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
So you're automatically, and that's something my wife and I looked at when we moved to the island.
Yeah.
And
Oh, it's
so
something
you-
like Opal in a sense, because they rent the land and they
Yeah.
bring their house in.
Exactly. So you can't get traditional financing. You have to go private financing, so you're into, 20% down automatically for the most part.
Yeah.
And even though the house pricing is very affordable, it takes you out of that realm almost immediately with the down payment.
No.
It's not a down payment that most working people are gonna be able to do if that's their price point.
Right.
Is the problem,
Unless they sold
Okay.
something else.
unless they
But-
sold something else.
But, and so part of the Oaks is all of that huge field that's out in front. They own all of that too, right?
Yes, they do.
So that's a huge
Yeah.
part of that acreage.
And that's really, I think, the protected open space as part of the to thank.
Well, it's really
our-
nice because it meanders and,
It's
yeah,
very nice. I took a lot of
Very
pictures
well
when I
done.
went over
Yeah.
there for something, and I shared them at a
Yeah,
meeting at one time, remember?
Yeah,
And it's nicely done, it's very,
I think about those Eagle Lake models where you've got a circle of land that
Oh,
you
yeah,
can
and
do
Foster
whatever
Point
you want
and Eagle
on, you
Lake
know,
and-
and then
yeah.
everything else is in public land, I mean.
Well,
Yeah.
see, that's what makes sense to me for this kind of an idea, is because when you're trying to attract people here who have options because they're skilled workers, they're not gonna wanna be crowded onto something that looks like a fence.
Mhm.
yeah.
If you can do it on the margins of someplace that gives them land access,
Yeah,
like Eagle Lake,
yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
Foster Point, same way.
Foster
Yeah.
Point's all owned by,
Where's Foster Point?
Foster
Orcas,
Point,
past the ferry landing.
yeah.
Yeah.
You go
it-
down Grindstone, almost to Grindstone, and
In their
um,
little circles, or?
they're 100-foot circles, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, the guy.
They were
Are
first.
any of them for sale?
The guy was on the.
They're pretty well developed now.
Yeah, they are, the guy.
Roy Lundgren lived down there.
The guy that was on the
The
ferry
architect.
advisory, Bob
Bob Disler
Disler.
lives down
He's
there.
kind of the whole thing.
It's
Okay.
pretty well developed now, but Foster Point was first with 100-foot, and then Eagle Lake.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah.
But I
So-
think we're gonna end up with a mix of employer housing, subsidized housing, maybe, you know, maybe finding a way to underpin cooperative situations for, like what you see in New York, kind of
Yeah.
idea.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, it's become such an issue, and everybody is thinking about it a little bit differently. So I think Opalco is talking about, again, they're talking about trying
Preliminary
trying-
discussions, yes.
to do something, and Eastsound Water is, and other people are, you know, and so I think it's gonna take,
Does
it's gonna take somebody doing 2 or 3,
Yeah.
and instead of somebody doing 40, you know?
Does Opelco have land
Yes.
for building lodging?
Well, we've got the generator plant
Yeah,
Mhm.
on the corner of Terrell Beach,
Yeah.
and then,
where the old office used to be.
Yeah.
or the old office, that would be the only feasible spot, I think.
Have a loft.
And it's all,
Well, that's a
been-
big
it's all
thing.
been cleaned up, so it's ready, it's pretty much ready to go.
And the 100-foot circles take way more land.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
well, I think we continue to, I think we really do need to, I think the more we talk about how we could do a trailer park or an RV park nicely, that is palatable to,
I think
People-
that's the key. I think having reasonable design standards for them, requiring amenity packages, so it's not just a sea of trailers. They've actually got some compelling reason to be there, you know, some sense of community.
yeah.
I
And
think
that they
that
have
goes
a
a long ways.
And they have a storage unit so that they have to put their stuff in it,
Yes.
and it's, you know, you can only have 2 cars or something, you know? I mean, I just think it's workable, and there are that is a need for a segment of the population,
Yeah.
you know? So, I guess we just need to keep working on that. But before, nobody would even entertain it.
Yeah.
That was,
I think the sense I have from the planning commission is that we need to hit housing on every single level, and we need 10 initiatives simultaneously. And one of the things I've looked at is to say, okay, let's come up with a list. Let's come up with all of the needs. Let's bring all the county staff to the table. Let's bring, you know, Ryan, let's bring Colin, let's bring everybody who's got a bite at this apple and say, okay, you know, Ryan, I need you to go this direction. You're taking care of very low income. Boom, make it happen. You know, let's bring in some private partners. You know, Opal, we need you over here. We need you researching this. Let's really hit on every single level right now, because it is every level.
it is, and it's gonna take
I
everybody.
can't bring an employee in from the mainland because there's no place for a professional to land right now, anywhere.
Right.
And it's tough, and it's not just our department. Colin, you know, he's running out of engineers. His entire engineering staff, he's losing it because of attrition. They're all getting ready to retire. Well, we can't find an engineer.
It's happening everywhere in the islands.
Truly,
Yeah,
it really
it's
is.
everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere.
And even if we could find them, where do we put them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unlike other places though, we don't really have a supply problem, we have a distribution problem.
Yes.
And so
Right.
that's very
What does
different.
that mean?
Meaning all the second homes, we've got all these
Oh,
empty.
so
We've got enough homes for,
Yeah.
you know, 1.5 people to have.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have a population, let's just round up.
Yeah.
We're at 20,000 people. We have housing to accommodate 40,000 people right now. The housing's here. You know, whether it's in a price point or anything else, the housing exists. We don't need to build a single house if they were all in use. That's the tough part.
Can't imagine.
Yay.
I can't imagine.
Mandatory ADU.
I'm not advocating.
I like it. Okay, mandatory
cow.
ADU. You build a house, you're absolutely welcome to build a house on Orcas Island or San Juan Island. You have to provide, housing for one of our residents right over here.
Friends of the San Juans was very happy to provide council with a letter about why ADUs are on the lottery system, and that they're right there, happy to start to litigate again.
Yeah.
So we're waiting
Yep.
for Michigan County to deal with that one.
Yeah.
And.
Yeah, and again, that's another thing, I think, of not figuring out how to allow that.
Well, and this is where we have community partners like Eprc that is trying to step up, and the Planning Commission and Lopez Village, trying to step up and solve the problem. And we've got other entities that are trying to prohibit us
Yes.
from solving the problem. And really, they're a part of why we're here today, why we're even having the
Well, I
discussion.
think we can come to
Right.
an understanding of, you know, dealing with the reality that we are gonna, even though we technically have enough housing for everybody, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to create more housing at certain price point levels, HB 1220.
Yep.
We should talk about that.
Yes.
If you haven't heard about it already. And that if you don't want sprawl, then you gotta drive density.
Yeah, right.
So-
Yes.
Well, and that's what you've been always saying,
Yeah.
is we, you know, we need to have the density, we're going out, not
Yeah.
from the inside out, not the outside
So,
in, so.
Let me give you the Cliff Notes version on House 1220, because it changes things significantly for the next comp plan, which really starts in January.
Yeah.
But House
And-
Bill 1220 says we must identify all the stratified layers of economic need in the community. So we have to have a very low category, and a low, and a medium low, and a high low, and it creates all these new categories of income levels. But more than saying we have to identify and plan, it says we really have to accommodate. How do we accommodate all of the levels within our community? And that's a real key difference. So it's not just planning, it's implementation. And how do we do that?
Yeah.
And so right now, we're still in the dark because we're waiting for numbers from Commerce. Commerce is going through and identifying all the striations we have to have. They're identifying all of that, and that'll come out probably June of 23.
Is this law now?
Yeah, we're probably it is law right now, but we're probably 6 months from really getting the data that we need for it. We've still got a little bit of time before it's here, but it's on our horizon.
I wanted to say to Cindy's point about density, that's the EPRC's wheelhouse. I mean, this is what's supposed to be the density area. But we are one of the least dense communities anywhere I know. And it seems to me the question for EPRC is how do we turn that around? How do we make room for density when density isn't necessarily popular with everybody here?
That's the philosophical question. How do we get the density? How do we, where do we do it?
Well, and then you throw in the strata of economic levels, holy
I know,
cow.
I know. Well, you almost say, down proposed, we need 100-unit apartment complex, and in there, we're gonna have 20 units of one-bedroom studio. We're gonna go with 3-bedroom units, and inside of that, there's gonna be varying finish levels inside of it, so that you can say, okay, this unit has a key cost of $100,000, therefore the rent is at that level, or it needs to be subsidized somehow. It really creates an interesting approach, and I don't know how we're going to have to address it.
So,
Wow.
That's an unknown to me.
This may be just, sacrilege, but what if you took Mount Baker Farm
Mhm.
and we took the Opal, April's Grove and reproduced that 10 times?
I think you gotta go higher density than that.
Okay.
I think you gotta go higher density. I mean, I would envision, because it kind of comes back to one of your other earlier points, I would envision like 3 stories with
Yeah.
the apartments on, second and third, the first floor being garages for each unit, so you get your storage there. So you can get a car inside, or you can take care of the storage needs that we know that comes with that. That way you can get rid of all the kayaks on the balconies and everything else.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that's the
David,
interesting thing.
I don't disagree with you. We need to go higher density, but April's Grove is built to the highest density that zoning allows right now. So that would imply that we need to upzone.
I think that, and this is, I hope I'm not coming off as a NIMBY, but, I think that we need to protect the look and feel of Eastsound, and I think a huge amount of the importance of it is scale.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so if you're standing on the street in Eastsound, 2 stories to 2.5 stories, makes sense. But if you're at Mount Baker Farm and you've got something that's 100 feet from the road, it could be 3 stories.
Absolutely.
If it's 200 feet from the road, it could be 4 stories or 5, It's all a matter of scale.
Yes, it is. And architecture drives a big part of that too.
Yeah, it does.
You can hide height
Yes.
visually very well based on, variegated architecture and your setbacks on your second story from your first story to your third story, stair stepping things and you can get creative.
Well, just like the building behind, Northern Lights. I mean, you could have Northern Lights, by the library, that's got, 12 units? Is there 6 up and 6 down? They've been there for years. And then the complex behind, which I think is only 6 units. I'm not, how many units are in that?
Are you talking about on Pine Street, Leaf?
Yeah, the one on Pine Street, that is really so nice.
Yeah, it's
It looks
very
like,
I mean,
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I think it's
6
6
units, I think.
6
Yeah,
units,
6
yeah.
units.
Yep.
Because we did, but that architectural design is, I would like that anywhere.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
if you propose
It looks,
developing Mount Baker
it
Farm,
looks
you're
like
gonna
a
need a
single
bulletproof
family-
vest.
it looks like a single-family home or a duplex with 6 cars in front
Yes.
of it.
Yeah, but I do like David's idea about the, the cars and the storage and stuff, because I think that,
It changes the look and feel.
it does.
If you can get it hidden.
Yeah, well, I don't think we need to go to the extreme as in Anacortes. I don't know if you know this, but when you get off the ferry in Anacortes, all those new houses to the left,
Yeah.
they cannot, their cars have to be inside their garage.
Yeah.
They cannot park in their driveway.
They don't have room.
But if you create entrances from the back, it doesn't matter, because then what's being seen on the street is not sitting in the stall. It can be.
I've always been curious on how they got that kind of density outside the UGA. That's not part of the UGA all the way out there, is it?
Oh,
So how did they get that kind of density way out there?
Okay, well,
Well,
I don't know.
that's theirs, but anyway,
Not a problem, and I don't mean to push us along
yeah,
here.
but let's
We
do
need to
the,
go.
let's do the,
I still have to navigate home in the
Yeah,
dark in a boat in the gale.
Oh, you do?
Wow.
okay, well, thank God it's not, big,
If I could make one comment before we start on the first permit.
yeah,
There was a permit from September, and it was townhomes in town. I have the number here, and I'm happy to send it again, or Leith can send it to you.
you can send it.
It was, some townhomes that proposed, they didn't meet the design standards, and we sent a request for maybe more elevations and to ask them to,
Yeah,
um,
I don't know is the answer.
Okay.
I've not been following individual
Okay.
permits, I've been
Sure.
working
It's
on.
on the corner of Madrona and Fern.
so anyway, it doesn't meet the design standards, and it has a few problems. So
Okay.
anyway, it would be great if maybe somebody could.
Send it to me if you can, send me an email, and I'll have somebody on staff take a look at it.
Okay.
But send it to me, not Sophia at the moment.
Okay,
Um,
will do.
she's,
I thought we did send it, but you don't think we did send it?
No, I think we sent it, I just we never got any feedback from it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I did,
Sophia likely pushed it off to one of the other planners. We've been nonstop.
that's
We've
what she.
been nonstop on the comp plan.
Yeah, that's what she usually does, and I think she sent it back to me and said that she sent it to Shannon, maybe.
Yeah, and Shannon's been in and out over
Yeah.
the last month
So,
with some vacations.
But anyway, that's, you're just trying to follow up.
Just send it, I'll get
Dan, do
you.
you have any other thing to say unless, before we go into the permit review?
No, not really.
I really appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm kind of, the housing thing is very interesting. I'm really an advocate for inside the urban growth, the sub-area,
Yeah.
even, that means all the way from Terrell Beach Road
Mm-hmm.
to the Y Camp,
We got a spot open.
development, development. Fill it up.
Mm-hmm, infill.
Don't spread it,
Yeah.
Yeah, infill it.
because the Growth Management Act, the whole intent was to try and stuff everything into
Urban growth.
urban growth areas.
Yeah.
And that's where you got the services, and it's like, and then we got people saying, oh, no, it's a beautiful farm field. It's like, well, it's in the urban growth area, or it's in the sub area. It may not be in the growth area. I don't know. I don't even know. I still haven't figured
There
out how
are
you set
so
those
many
lines.
people that don't
You know,
understand the
and
growth area.
the lines, where the
The
lines
UGA
are.
line is weird.
It's
Yeah.
like, guys, we've got a lot of territory inside the sub area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's try and maximize that before we go
And we got a lot
hither
of,
and yon,
Well, we did an inventory of that as
We
part of
did
the
it.
comp plan.
in fact, actually, I've got that one map.
Yeah.
We did every single
Every
lot.
single
lot.
parcel.
Every single parcel we did,
It was
with that
pretty
land
exhaustive.
capacity study.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was really quite interesting, so,
Sounds like we're gonna be doing it again.
yeah. Better numbers, I hope.
Beginning of third quarter.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm
Hopefully with,
hiring consultants to do it.
hopefully with better numbers this time.
Do you have a boat, or are you on a ferry?
I have a boat.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Going back Friday Harbor on a boat?
Yeah. That's why I said I gotta leave here in just a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry about
Fighting
that.
a gale, a
Sorry about that.
sunset, and a
Holy.
okay, so this
Oh, yeah.
first one, Brian, this David Kilpatrick on Shady Lane,
and I've got the site plan up on the computer right now.
That's the
You can
addition.
see that.
that's the prefab,
Oh, the prefab, that's.
yeah.
Okay.
Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Leif.
So, on that, prefab on Shady Lane, did you have any thoughts or questions?
I did not. Well, from what I could understand from the site plan, it appears to be mostly an interior remodel.
No,
Oh,
No,
no, this is
is
the,
that the one?
this is
That's the other one.
prefab.
Okay, I can see.
Yeah, and it's got a
Um,
weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
My only question was,
there right now.
my only question was whether, this is a lot, this is a half-acre lot. If they were required to place this on
Site
one half
planning.
of the lot site planning,
Yeah.
so that they could add another unit on the other side.
So-
It looks like it kind of might have fallen into that category, but anyway, my only question for the planner was, is site planning where the opportunity for a second unit?
Where is that
It's on Shady
Lane, off of North Beach Road.
Right next to Autumn Lane off North Beach Road.
So it's in the green and
Well, I
speckled?
think this is,
Oh, that's Marina.
those are, oh, it's in here. Okay, this is Autumn.
Yeah,
So,
it's in
so
here.
Shady,
Okay.
this is Autumn. Is Shady to the north of Autumn?
Shady's to the north of all.
Okay, so this is Shady.
Okay, according to this, it's Eastsound residential 2 acre with site planning.
With site planning.
Yeah,
So it has a
yeah,
P.
good call.
So that's a good question. Yeah.
Okay, so it has a site plan requirement.
I guess, but it's a half-acre lot, so it's probably okay. But anyways, worth just pointing that out.
Yeah.
They probably didn't even know that.
So why is that shown as it is, as an oval?
It's a racetrack.
It's an elongated
I was
yurt.
gonna say an ice rink.
I mean, there's no elevation, but it's strange.
NASCAR's coming to town.
Yeah, there's
it's
no
an old-
elevation. It probably looks like a Tylenol or something.
Yeah, but like an elongated
Yeah,
yurt.
yeah.
Okay, so, was that the one, I thought it was interesting that the address, the location of the permit isn't listed on there. It's only on the it's only is on the TPN, but I think that's a form.
And I'm sorry, I missed the first part of it.
I thought that, when I was looking at the form application, you know, it asked for the TPN number, but then it asked for the owner, but if the owner is living in Pascagoula, Mississippi, it doesn't, there's nothing that ever gives the,
Well, it just never,
it never gives
yeah,
the,
it probably was subdivided and just never given an address, and you have to apply for an address. So
Oh, yeah.
it's right
Yeah.
here, it just,
Yeah.
it never had anything
it
on
didn't
it.
have an address, so I
Right,
thought that,
right.
but
Yeah.
on the TPN, it gives, it just gives it a number with Shady Lane.
Right.
Anyway, I thought that was,
Yeah.
I just thought that was an interesting form question.
Yeah, no, it's, and as said, before, likely the address has not been issued yet.
Okay,
There's nothing else there. There's no reason for the address to have been issued, so.
Yeah.
We may have one in our system already earmarked, but it just hasn't been.
then that's a requirement of actually your building, you have to have the
Absolutely.
address on the road,
Yeah, as soon as a permit is issued.
then they have to have the address, okay.
Yeah.
And that's when the address is given. Okay, yeah, that's what happened with mine, with 44 Haven, so, okay. So, the other one, Brian, is the remodel of the house on the corner of High School Road and Prune Alley. It's just the remodel and an addition. And the only thing that I was kind of curious about is here we are again with, this is going as a residence, or are they doing it as a partial business?
I think it's a residence.
It's a residence, so there's gonna be no requirements of curb, gutter, and sidewalk then?
It's already there.
Well, there's already curb gutter and sidewalk
Not on
on
the
Prune,
north.
but not on the north.
Yeah, but not, yeah. right
Oh,
here.
that's a
On
good
School
point.
Road.
Yeah, there should be.
So I had a question, does it require any cutting of the new road? But it doesn't, I don't think.
It doesn't
Any
because their,
utilities?
yeah,
Yeah,
because their
That would be a
parking
shame.
was from school roads,
Yeah.
so. But yeah, that they should be required to fulfill curb gutter and
My-
sidewalk. What was that, Brian?
Leith, my only question was this. The permit application mentions something about an ADU. And I think I'm understanding from the site plan that the ADU is pre-existing, it's the thing in back. I wonder whether the parking, whether there's adequate parking, because it's not really shown.
That's a good question. That thing in back though is a shed. It's a
Yeah.
very small shed.
Well,
No. Can you bring up the plan again, Charles or Leaf, whoever has that?
So here is
David
the
has-
wrong site plan.
That's the wrong one.
There is the site plans. We have an
Yeah.
existing in the back. That's what it's labeled as.
I don't remember the permit saying anything about
To the-
ADU.
That's what I was
In the
just
main
looking at.
house and in that, on the west side or the east side, the right-hand
Shed.
side.
Yeah,
well, they,
looks
No,
like about
no.
10 or,
yeah, maybe 10 or
No,
12, yeah.
in the main house, here's what looks like a separate kitchen on the right-hand side. I'm not sure it is, but okay, in the
Did you-
permit, so which
Did you,
is,
did you see the letters ADU somewhere?
I believe I did.
I'm not seeing it in the.
I don't, pretty well, but
Demo.
Hmm.
Let's do this.
No. David, can you go back to where you just were?
With the,
Yes,
The area that was highlighted in blue?
be happy to.
Well, ADU is not checked. Maybe I'm just wrong. Bedroom 3. Huh. I don't know where I got that. Maybe I'm just wrong.
I don't think it would hurt to ask about parking and lot coverage, though.
Okay, parking
Well, in
lot
terms
coverage,
of-
the sidewalk to the north,
Yeah.
okay.
It looks like they're not doing any exterior work. Is that right?
Well, they have to on the addition, they're doing an addition to it.
Yeah, I think they're tacking on 2 rooms to the back.
Oh, okay, that's what that is, the 2 rooms that look like
Yeah.
they have some kind of an
The-
accessory kitchen.
The kitchen,
Okay.
that you see there used to be the back of the house. And now those 2 new units are, 2 new rooms, I guess maybe 3 rooms are being tacked on.
Part of the same house, but they are blowing out the exterior and back.
Mm-hmm.
Whoop.
east side, right?
Oh, I've been in that house when it was raining. And this looks like the existing footprint. So maybe it is all interior.
Well, it said addition,
That's what I thought,
remodel addition of existing residence.
too. Yeah,
So maybe it's this, oh, you know what, I bet it's this.
That's
this,
what it is. You're right.
This is what it is.
Yeah, that open block on the
On
lower
the
right side,
Southeast
southeast side.
side.
oh, yeah.
There's,
That's
there's
what's
a
new.
double door where you go into it.
Yeah,
So they've moved, I don't see the kitchen. Where's the kitchen? Is this the kitchen? This is the kitchen. And the kitchen is a bump out. This wasn't part of the house either, the original house.
oh, it
Oh,
looks
that's a
like the
porch.
porch,
Oh, that's a porch. Okay. So that's an addition. But it's only a porch, it's not a room.
Well, there's a porch to the east, but then there is a new room, I think.
Yeah,
to
this
the
whole
south.
thing is a new room,
Yeah,
but
right.
off of, they moved this is the bathroom, I guess that's the kitchen.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
know. Okay, so
All right,
that's,
well, we've got our
so we're
three things.
good.
Curb, gutter, sidewalks,
So,
parking.
David, we wanted to change our meeting to because the, first is the first day of November or December is Thursday. So the following one is the 7th or the 8th or whatever it is.
It'd be the 8th.
So, in order to be able to do that, has to be some kind of a 20-day notice or something?
Not that I'm aware of. This body, from what I have read, this body needs to vote on that.
Yes.
Change the specific day, and
Just
if
for
you
the-
want to change the time, you guys just need to vote on that tonight.
Okay,
While we're here.
okay, so,
And I'm just looking up, bringing a calendar up here, so I know what we're talking about.
okay, yeah, well,
Okay,
it's
go
only,
ahead.
yeah, it's just because Thursday is the first. Brian, can you hear me? Brian,
Did he leave? Can't vote on
call Brian Weiss.
Yeah, we just lost him.
Visa.
Who is that?
Are you talking about moving from the 1st to 8th?
From the 1st to the 8th.
Yeah.
Makes it even.
Hi.
We lost you, but we need you. So,
Oh, you need me back? Why?
well, I need you back, I need your voice because you're the quorum.
Just keep him on the phone.
I'm just having you on the phone. So we wanted to, since, the 1st of December is the first Thursday, we wanted to change the meeting to the 8th.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that. That works for me.
Okay, so I need, a motion.
I move that we
All right,
move the
I
meeting.
move that we change, our regular meeting date from the 1st of December to the 8th of December for that month.
Okay.
Charles, second.
Have a second?
Second.
Charles, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye. Okay, good. All right. So agenda items for next month's meeting, we can do follow-up on what we talked about, these letters and stuff. The only other thing is, do we, next Tuesday for the, the
Oh.
29th, November 29th is the council meeting.
Yeah.
We want to do that one letter
Yeah.
for them, but do we also want to send our things about the comp plan that we sent to the planning commission and it got all,
It's already in the packet.
it's on the, in the
Every comment we
council,
have gotten is from,
in the council?
yeah, it's in the council
Okay.
packets.
Okay.
So, you're welcome to resend it. I'm not
Okay.
telling you not to do
Well,
that.
we can talk to Cindy about that
Yeah,
next week,
okay,
so.
great.
Anyway, I won't be able to be there on the 29th to do public comment, at the council meeting. We can also just submit that letter and put it in,
I can
for
see
the
if I
council
could go.
meeting, or else you can
Yeah,
just say
I'm just saying that it will be a long day.
it'll be a long, yeah.
Potentially. I mean, we will be taking
we borrow
public
your
comment
vote?
on the comp plan before we get into it, but I gotta tell you, I am expecting all day.
Yeah, I'm sure.
on the comp plan, just knowing,
There'll be a lot of comments.
we have to go through 700 pages of material.
Holy cow.
And, for that, in addition to however many public comments we get that day and discussion, yeah, it's gonna be a marathon.
Those always get mired down.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
are we adjourned?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
And it's dark,
Uh-huh,
For
it
the
is.
record, I show 5:27 is the adjournment.
45:20, yeah,
I'm just
Yeah.
catching it for the audience.
thank you. And thank you, Dan, for coming.
Good job, guys.